It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. It's Thursday. Gary, how are you?
Well, this is absolutely perfect timing.
Okay.
This is perfect timing because we addressed this yesterday when we, again, talked about the radical transgender movement and, went after, the feminists that completely and totally crumbled.
Yeah.
Completely betrayed women.
Right.
Completely.
Right.
All of a sudden, I see this article today. National Organization for Women not allowing men in women's sports is white supremacist patriarchy.
Wow.
So now the patriarchy is not allowing men to define the definition of women and compete against them in sports. Have they lost their ever-loving freaking minds?
Yeah, and there's, that's a double bigotry there, white supremacists and what do you call them, patriarchists? Hey, by the way, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with patriarchy.
Misogynist.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
Women haters.
I'm okay with patriarchy. I'm a guy. I'm okay with it. That's just my perspective. But if we're the ones saying, this is so stupid. Okay, everybody take your shoes and socks off. We're going to wade into the kiddie pool again. So those of us who don't want men playing women's sports are bigoted. I don't know how the white supremacist thing comes into it. And it's a form of patriarchy.
Yes.
When actually what you mean is, and again, you and I during the pre-show meeting, how is this white supremacy? How is this white supremacy? I have no idea how this is white supremacy.
Because it is.
We'll just throw it out there, right? And another thing. It's stupid. It's the kiddie pool. And, the problem with the kiddie pool is most of that isn't water. So be careful that you're wading into it. It's just stupid. Absolutely stupid. National Organization of Women, Gary. How long they've been around? When did we start letting them form organizations?
Well, I
had to say that.
Well, I personally said, okay.
Remember the big meeting of men, mom, as we called it?
Yes.
When we just said, well, they want to have a national organization. Well, no.
Well, when I joined, one of the creators, along with Mr. Bundy of No Ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? The National Organization of Men Against Amazonian Masterhood?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I can't remember what that.
I don't remember the acronym.
From Married with Children.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the big mom meeting of men, at some point we granted them permission, women, to form a national organization.
The National Organization for Women now sees those who oppose the inclusion of biological men in women's sports as proponents of white supremacist patriarchy. Okay. In a social media post specifically targeting a group consisting of several prominent female athletes who are suing the NCAA for violating their Title IX rights, by allowing biological men to compete, and in this case, Leah Thomas to compete against them, and use their changing areas during the 2022 NCAA Swimming Championships. The National Organization of Women posted a statement on X blasting the female athletes as weaponizing womanhood to further the interest of white supremacist patriarchy.
Wow.
I mean, what kind of... We have to ban all drugs.
No, I thought about that. First of all, there's a new drug. It's called, if you podcast our show, putting it on 3/4 speed. Apparently this is taking hold.
From that.
More listeners. One of our listeners, Brian, because, we had Danny from Arizona that did this, and it was by mistake. He didn't know his podcast had been set on 3/4, and he wrote me, he goes, you guys don't sound right. You sound trippy. And then, well, we talked about it on yesterday's show about this time, and another great listener, Brian, who's a truck driver, said one of the funniest moments is actually slowing down your podcast to 3/4 speed while you guys are talking about a serious drug-related topic. And it does sound trippy, so 3/4 speed Thursday might become a thing. And I thought to myself, it's interesting, as I was replying to these great listeners, I thought the same thing. And then it occurred to me, kind of something you and I have said for a while. I'll watch a fiction movie, but I love to watch, if it's a true documentary, a balanced documentary, or read a book about history instead of reading fiction. It's more interesting. And we've been saying for years, it's more interesting to just read the news. You don't even have to get into, anything else. Forget Hollywood. Just read the news. It's entertaining all day. And that has become, following the left has become honestly, like doing some kind of drug.
It is.
Yeah. I don't, because you have to go down you have to reverse, basically. I said this in the pre-show meeting to you because you said it, I don't know how many times. Whatever they're saying to you or whatever they're calling you, just flip it around. And I know that just sounds cliche, but it actually is the case. It's patriarchy if you don't want men playing. This is the left, Gary. This is the left. For years. I mean, I'm assuming a lot of the individuals at the National Organization for Women are on the left. They formed their own organization for women, and that organization is now saying if you don't let men in sports, it's white
Women's
supremacist
sports.
Women's sports, sorry. And women's sports with a big distinction. If you don't let them in women's sports, it's white supremacy and it's patriarchy. So you just have to flip it around. I mean, it's the mirror image. It is bizarro. You also started using the word bizarro because it refers to, that part of Superman, which, by the way, is also indirectly a Seinfeld reference, to be clear, because it's just the reverse of everything that we know. And that's exactly where the left lives. They're not just void of reality. They're just living in a complete delusional, bizarro state.
Well, we remember, especially in the 1960s, when feminism just, boomed. And, we had said when Gloria Steinem came out and supported men playing women's sports, we just went, wow.
Yeah.
And, talking about the drug thing, did they all do the brown acid at Woodstock?
Right.
Is that what happened?
Right.
And did it hit them years later?
Right.
Because this is just so people know how ridiculous this is. We have to do this, and we've got to get into the minutia. Let's get into what's the definition of patriarchy? Let's go to Oxford.
Okay.
A system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it.
Okay, that part of patriarchy, I'm not for.
Patriarchy is a social system in which positions of dominance and privilege are held by men.
Mm-hmm.
And so here is the National Organization of Women saying that not allowing men in women's sports is not just patriarchy, not letting men define what a woman is not only patriarchy, but it's white supremacist patriarchy.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you even deal with these people? How do you deal with them?
I don't know.
It's absolute insanity. It's like the left could come out tomorrow and say gravity doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be like, well, you've got, 40% of Democrats disagree with that. Gravity does exist, but 60% of Democrats are in agreement that gravity doesn't exist.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to just throw out biological sex as not existing, if you're going to completely change 180 degrees the words that you use, it's why you and I've talked about this. There is no debate against liberal, well, there isn't as much debate against the liberal ideas because you really can't debate if the premise of your debate is not based on truth.
Right.
So it's like, it's not patriarchy. In fact, it's the opposite. It's misogyny.
Right.
It's women hatred.
You got it backwards.
And the National Organization of, think about this, the National Organization of Women in 2024 is promoting women hatred.
That's progress, right?
That's
progress. Here we are, ladies. It's a new day. We don't mean ladies, we mean men.
Well, when you think about it, anti-racism is racism.
Right.
Being against the patriarchy is being a misogynist.
That's right.
Being inclusive is being a misogynist.
Right. These children have nothing else. They lay on the floor, kick and scream in the middle of the grocery store to get everybody's attention because they want candy. They want it their way. But, this is the thing, too. It's that.
Well, they don't want it their way. They want it the men's way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, in this case, yes. Hand it over to the men. Now, National Organization of Women is going to become NOM.
National Organization of Men.
Yes. Nom. Those are the realities of where the left is.
I mean,
now here's the thing. What I didn't know is because I never bought into the, men are so powerful. Now I am actually. I'm buying into it more and more. The left is not letting it happen. They're making it happen. And I'm thinking to myself, my gosh. So does anybody else see this? Looking around like, hello? Anybody else see this? I mean, it's just bizarre. This is progress. These are the same minds, by the way, the same mindset that are writing the handbook for DEI.
Exactly.
Wait until this hits on some DEI training, and that goes viral. Whoa! Look at this! Look at what came through on our training. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. This is the problem. This is the problem that the left has, is because nobody's buying it. Nobody's buying this from the National Organization of Women.
I could see that on the DEI test.
Yeah.
The patriarchy is a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it.
Yeah. Answer false and you'll...
Right. And so that is the patriarchy.
Right.
Now, let's give you an example. The National Organization of Women has come out and said that if you don't allow biological males to play sports against biological females, you're part of the patriarchy. Yeah. Is that true? And then you go, well, no, that would be false. Wrong! You don't pass.
You're out.
You have to understand, being inclusive is being a racist and a misogynist.
That's right.
That's the I in DEI.
Right.
The E for equity is that racism is anti-racism,
Mm-hmm.
and the D is just for we're really dumb.
Mm-hmm. And it is dumb.
Just
It's stupid. It's moronic.
just amazing. Just amazing.
You know
I mean,
who's
just
not buying this from the National Organization for Women?
women?
Actual women.
Women aren't.
They're
buying
not
it.
buying this
No.
crap.
My God.
This is stupid.
It just
This is stupid.
866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Cold weather takes a toll on trucks. As warmer weather rolls in, it's time to assess the impact winter has had on your vehicle to help avoid downtime and keep your rig rolling through to next winter. When completing your spring maintenance check, don't overlook your windshield wipers. Extreme temperatures, snow, and ice can tear windshield wipers apart. Check on yours now to prepare for spring showers and avoid squinting through streaks. A general rule of thumb is to replace your wiper blades every 6 months. But if your inspection uncovers streaking, worn rubber, or damaged wiper frames, you may want to purchase a new set sooner.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
In Red Eye Radio, he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. So, in regards to that story that we brought you to start out the show, just because we had talked about it yesterday, and then I'm coming into work, and that's where right before I left the house, that's where I saw this story, and I went, you got to be kidding. Did they hear our show last night and say, all right, let's prove that we're nuts? This is the National Organization for Women, says not allowing men in women's sports is white supremacist patriarchy. And we explained to you, in case you don't know what patriarchy means, it's a system of society. It's a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Mm-hmm. So what they're saying is, by not allowing men to play against women, that in some way you support men. That you
support because it's
I
backwards. It's walking backwards. It's like walking backwards. Just start walking backwards all the time and see how that works out for you.
Yeah, you're right, and so as I'm reading, I just went to Oxford Dictionary, and then they have below it, people are asking, what does the patriarchy mean to feminism? In feminism, all right,
right.
Within feminist scholarship, patriarchy has been understood more broadly as the system in which men as a group are constructed as superior to women as a group, and as such have authority over them. So they claim they're against the patriarchy, yet, and their claim that they're against patriarchy is that they want biological men to play against biological women in sports.
Yep. You can't make it up. You can't make it up.
What in
It's
God?
insanity.
It's pure insanity. I wonder how recruiting is going for the National Organization of Women. Can feminist groups that support men, biological men, playing against women and biological men defining what a woman is, because that's what they're doing.
Well, they're not feminists anymore. They're masculinist. They're the same ones screaming a few years ago, toxic masculinity. I'm sorry. What?
There is no more toxic masculinity than the opinion of the National Organization of Women.
If you're talking about that dude that's 6'5" on the team that towers over all the other players, okay.
I was walking backwards. That was great.
about to trigger somebody right now. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, I was just having a discussion. We were having a discussion, and I was telling you, I said, you know, sometimes I feel like it's so stupid that we have to break things down the way that we break things down, as we just did there with the National Organization of Women coming out and saying that if you're not for biological males playing against biological females, you're part of the white supremacist patriarchy that exists out there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're not sure where they got the white supremacist thing
We don't
from.
know. We don't know.
It's like, well, I don't even know where they got that one from.
Don't know.
But the patriarchy, and then having to go, because, you know, our listeners are smart enough. They know what the patriarchy is. But I was, you know, you and I were having the discussion. The reason that we do that is to completely destroy and take away any type of argument or any type of path that the left might think that they have. That's why we do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And
shred it.
Yeah.
Down to the smallest bits.
Right. And
that has become easier and easier for us to do because it's become so insane.
But there is a general feeling at times where I say, this is just so stupid. I can't believe that we have to do this because of the insanity, but you have to do it in order. You and I talk about this a lot, that you don't just win the argument. You've got to dominate the dojo argument.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had to do the Kramer from. You need to dominate the dojo. I mean, you need to, when you debate, you can't, and we've criticized Republicans saying, look, this is the easiest time ever, but you've got to complete all the arguments.
Yeah.
You can't sit there and just complete 50% of the argument, because that's when the left will say, okay, there's a path in. So I know it's stupid to have to go back and say, okay, let's actually look at the definition of patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know what it means, a male-dominated society where, you know, women are basically second class.
Yeah.
And we have to do that to just, I think, express and explain the absolute idiocy of where feminism has gone in this nation.
Yeah.
Think about that, too. Because when you actually, maybe for somebody my age who went through the 60s and the 70s and everything else with the feminist movement, when you actually go through it, so anybody who's around my age, anybody in their 60s, will look at this and go, my God, what the hell happened to feminism?
Well, I mean,
what in the world? How did feminism become defending men to play and define what a woman is, number one?
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't find it the opposite way.
Right.
You don't find transgender males wanting to play against biological males.
Right.
You know, you don't. That's not happening.
Right. We haven't seen that fight yet.
And so where the fight is the misogyny and the women hatred that exists from the radical transgender movement. And now, think about this. The National Organization of Women is officially a misogynist, women-hating organization.
Yes. If you don't let the men in, you're a bigot, according to them.
Right.
You know, make a great point, by the way, about if you are a transgender male wanting to play on the men's team, which by the way, you know, if we're talking about high school or collegiate level, when it comes to Title IX, there are no protections for men. And if they wanted to let a biological female play, then they could do that. That's not making the news. As you point out, it's a great point because that's not the battle here. The battle is for a protected class. Women. Protected under Title IX. When we're talking about the college level, high school level sports. Protected for a reason. We chose to do that as a society. No, the side, by the way, that fought for that is now saying, how dare you not let the men in?
I know.
I don't know. Are these the same people that invented podcast players that would slow a show down to 3/4 speed? I don't know why you would do that either. I kind of do now.
Well,
This is
I know.
this is just honestly. I feel like I just woke up from going to some weird wild party. Like, what happened?
And I've made the argument to Democrats who have no answer to it, which is, if this is the belief of the majority of Democrats, this is so insane that anything else you believe needs to be thoroughly examined and questioned, because there is no logic, there's no common sense, there's no science-based anything in any of it. It's simply rage and emotion.
Yep.
But the rage and emotion is the opposite of what the feminists have stood for.
Yeah. And fought for.
And fought for
well,
a century.
honestly,
over a century.
Look at how they were maligned. And so they weren't doing this to, promote themselves and go viral. There was no such thing as viral back then. You were doing something because you thought you believed in it. We created Title IX for a reason. We chose to do that as a society. We chose to acknowledge certain protected classes and say these classes are protected. But now none of them are protected because you can belong to one simply by saying so. There are no protected classes anymore. You can't convince me of that. It's gone.
And by the way, in things like golf, like in the PGA, women can play.
Yeah.
If women,
you've talked about that.
Yeah, if women can play from the tees of the men and qualify, it's the PGA. It's not the MPGA.
Right.
So, for example, and I don't know about Live Golf,
well,
being run by Saudi Arabia, if they'll allow women in.
Right.
But
there's a whole new line of questions there.
But in the PGA, if you're a woman and you can qualify, you can play.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And so the entire debate is about men in women's sports, and everybody out, every Democrat listening right now knows how insane this is, and we just wonder, why do you go along with it?
Right.
And this is something that you and I have talked about, because we're in the media, we're in the conservative libertarian, as we call it, but probably would be labeled under the conservative media. There isn't a story that we won't cover.
No.
There isn't. If Trump does something, you'll have a significant portion of the conservative media agree with him and disagree with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, every single thing, every single court case that Trump has been involved with, the conservative media has covered in depth and in detail. And if you look at the left, they're ignoring the Hunter Biden story.
Oh, yeah.
And they're ignoring the ties to Joe Biden. They're ignoring it. They've ignored it the entire time.
Right.
And so you have to ask yourself, when it comes to this, you're telling me that nobody in the you have some in the liberal media that have come out, but not on the federal level, not in Congress. You don't see it.
No.
The equity bill, 99.9% of the members of Congress of the Democrats want men. I mean, they're the misogynists. They want men to play women's sports.
Yep.
Why?
Why is that?
Why is this insanity? Why did Democrats say we're going to embrace this insanity? And you can't get an answer from them.
No,
you can't get it. All you get is what you get from now, from the National Organization of Women.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you believe that men shouldn't play women's sports, well, then you're a white supremacist. You practice white supremacist patriarchy. What the hell does that even mean? Explain that. They don't explain it. As we said, that's why we went through it. White supremacist patriarchy. What's the definition of patriarchy? Does it fit what they're saying? No. They never explain how men playing women's sports is about the patriarchy, about men, it is about men dominating, but they're saying that if you're against it, you're part of the patriarchy when they're part of the patriarchy.
Right.
And then the women, here's the other thing, too. They go after the women.
Yeah.
They're going after the women. That the women who are saying men shouldn't play women's sports, that they are the white supremacist patriarchy out there. It's absolutely insane.
Well, the National Organization Against Women.
Yeah, it is. It's a national organization against women. It's the most, that's the thing. I could imagine 32-year-old, was I 32? No, I would have been 34 when I got into talk radio.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have ever told me back then that this would be the kind of thing that that the Democrats would be going for, everybody would have said, "Oh, stop it! You're doing the exaggerated, bizarro, slippery slope. These things are never going to happen." Well, we're here.
Here we are. This wasn't a slope. This was a cliff. Everything feminists fought for is gone.
Gone.
Because the left won't allow it to reverse on the far left. They're not going to allow this course to be reversed. Now, we as a society will make that ultimate judgment. But in terms of the organizations fighting each other, the feminist organizations, sorry. We brought up Gloria Steinem. Oh, my gosh. She was the icon, the poster child for feminism.
I know. I'll never forget that day.
That's over.
You go, Eric, look at this. She's just supported men playing against women.
Yeah.
And that's the day. I can't remember what day it was, but we said officially now, feminism is dead.
Right.
Just
I just don't get it.
And we had predicted it. When we predicted it way back then, people said, you guys are going too far. That's not going to happen. We're going back over 10 years. We said, if this continues, it will kill feminism. Oh, you guys are just conservatives and you want feminism dead. Hey, we were right. And we're not rocket scientists.
Right. And we're the ones saying men shouldn't be playing women's sports.
Yes.
Wow. Unreal, man. Seriously.
It really is. 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. Could you do a forced stupid is as stupid does?
My mama always said stupid is as stupid does.
Here's this headline. Pete Buttigieg, opposing electric cars is like wanting landline phones forever. We'll get to that story coming up following the top of the hour.
Yeah, from a guy who rides a bicycle.
My God.
It's
just one of those days today where the left, again, just completely insane. And then the story that you and I were chucking about this one, Biden administration cancels purchases for Strategic Petroleum Reserve, citing high oil prices.
Yeah. I was telling you in the pre-show meeting, it's like, can you imagine? All right, let's ramp up the purchase for the SPR. And whoa, what happened? What? This is like inflation or something. Who did this?
Well, it's one thing that you and I talked about, that when you think about it, and we talked about the United States now producing more oil than any nation ever has in January.
Yeah.
And even with the federal government trying to do everything that they possibly can, these aren't new sites that they're drilling. This is the existing sites being much more efficient and productive. And you and I were talking about the fact that inflation really has not hit gasoline. Now, you can't count and say, yeah, but it's so much higher than it was in 2020 when COVID hit.
Right.
Because that was an anomaly. You have to look at the prices have been over the last, really, you think about it since 2008, 2009, when it went up over $4 here, that really gasoline has been between probably $2.70 for us here, $2.70 and $3.20. Even though when I came in it was $3.43, the highest I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, actually, up here there's been some spikes of $3.40-ish. Yesterday it was down a little bit. I think I paid $3.10, and so yeah, it's that's where we've been locally.
Let me ask this:
What's that?
And I haven't seen the factors of why gasoline's gone up in the last couple of days. I haven't researched it. Is it because of the eclipse and people are coming in?
No,
so
actually,
it's going to be more of a demand.
There is, in fact, a story out saying they expect it's going to be like multiple Super Bowls all happening at once. The congestion on certain highways because people will want to be in those zones, and we'll talk about that coming up. But yeah, maybe.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Thank you for being here. Another insane day.
Yeah.
I can't find my eclipse glasses. I got them in the other day, and I don't know where I put them. I got to find them.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I'm going to only have to step out to my back deck. To really go. Well, that's if it's. Well, it's still going to get dark. I just thought about this. I'm golfing tomorrow. I should golf on Monday. That would be cool to be out on the golf course when it happens.
Yeah. No, that would be good, right? I mean, a nice open space. So when Jeff Bezos' massive spacecraft hovers over Earth and opens up to basically bring his entire grand plan of, evil dominance to fruition, you're looking up. That's what I watched the movie Independence Day, or as I call it, documentary Independence Day, and that's how it starts. Everybody's just looking up.
Making a mashed potato mountain?
Oh, man. And Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Great movie.
Oh, sorry, I had the wrong movie.
Same genre.
Same, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's what a great movie.
All over where I live. Now, where I live on the peninsula of a lake.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's hiking trails, there's a state park, there's a couple of city parks, RV slots all over the place, but all over the roads around the lake. Do not stop on April 8th. Great big signs all over the place on all the major roads near me.
Well,
Do not stop.
I just printed off a story because it was in reference to what I referenced that story about they're saying this is going to be like 20 or 30 Super Bowls. A number of interstates are going to be crowded with people. The picture they use in this story from time.com is like from The Walking Dead years ago on AMC, where all the cars basically just parked. Mm-hmm. The zombie apocalypse starts. This is how it begins. This is how and it also is how it ends. So, good luck, everybody.
How bad will traffic be? Yeah. Well, the feds are advising people to drive early, stay longer in the town where they're viewing the eclipse to avoid traffic.
Well, if they all do that, then there will be traffic. It'll just be later.
It's hard to predict which cities or states will be most impacted by the eclipse traffic-wise, but they predict up to 5 million people will be traveling to the path of totality
I live in the path of totality. I think you do too.
I live in the path of totality.
Yeah, I live in it.
We're doomed.
I'm going to be on my roof, but I'm on my roof every day.
I'm
just going to leave that comment there and not even explain it.
The path of totality between Texas and Maine.
Mm-hmm.
While drivers and officials are looking to the 2017 eclipse for hints of what is to come, traffic will likely be much worse this time. That's because the 2024 path of totality, the area where the moon will completely obscure the sun, is a 3-hour drive away from 8 major cities with a population greater than 2 million, including Chicago, Houston, and Toronto. By contrast, the 2017 eclipse path of totality was a 3-hour drive from only 3 larger metropolitan areas, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Portland. If the expected 5 million visitors were to leave the path of totality as soon as the eclipse ended, the ensuing traffic would be equivalent to 71 sold-out football games ending at once, according to the Journal of Institute of Transportation Engineers. So we'll see.
Yeah, we're our forecast is changing a little bit. It looks like it says now mostly cloudy. There will be some periods of sun, and let's hope it's around 1:40 in the afternoon. For those that I think about it. I went to one of the towns, one of the nearby towns yesterday, and they've got a big street sign. Our total eclipse. They're having a big, like a street fair thing. Which is, I guess you're going to capitalize on it, right? People are going to spend money on it. That's great. Yeah. But I thought to myself, man, how much money is being spent on something that maybe a lot of people aren't going to be able to see? Hopefully they will.
Independent Bob, who lives, now near Hot Springs, Arkansas, said there are so many parties there. He wrote it on social media yesterday.
Yeah.
There's so many parties and events going on, and maybe I'm just oblivious to it, and it's like, okay, is that happening here? And we're right. I mean, we're right in the middle of the path of totality. I mean, we're going to see from what if everything is accurate, and I'm sure it is. They've got that kind of physics down. It'll be completely dark,
right?
Which is going to be interesting. And luckily, I have no plans to do anything. I'm coming home. It'll be interesting to see what traffic will be like as I'm driving down the tollway back.
Oh, that morning.
Yeah,
Monday morning. Yeah.
Even though
it would stand to reason. Okay, but
people will be heading here.
So here's the thing. I mean, you can't just stop like on an interstate or even a tollway. You can't just stop for no reason if you break down or something, or there's traffic, of course. But if the traffic is naturally created, what a nightmare, by the way. What a nightmare. Just go to a park.
Yeah, I should be okay. I mean, going home at 5 a.m, you would assume most people are in hotels or whatever. And then coming in, after it's done.
And they won't be drunk until like 9 or 10 a.m.
At 10:30 at night, then I should be okay too.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's even in the path of totality. Well, where we are, it's going to be 3.5 to 4 minutes.
I didn't even think about that. People getting buzzed.
Oh, no. It's
people getting wasted to see the... Wow, man, look at the eclipse. I didn't even think about that until you said people getting drunk at 9 a.m. Like, oh, yeah.
I usually don't drink this early. Yeah, sure you don't.
I'm taking off. Well, Monday should be a national holiday in the path of totality.
Right.
So we can all get buzzed and go, wow, dude, look at that. These glasses are great.
People are taking vacation time for it. They're taking time off work. I mean, they've got up. I was looking around at some RV spots, and it's like, nope. And it starts basically Friday. People coming in to the path of totality. If you live in that, I mean, you could. I wonder if I could Airbnb standing room for 4 minutes. My front yard. Because that's what's happening right now. My sister-in-law told me this a few months ago. She lives south of here, but she's also in the path of totality. And she says, you guys should come down. And we were like, oh, no, it's a work day, you know. Darkness isn't a good reason to take the day off. 4 minutes of darkness. So
it would be a 3-day weekend.
Right. It would be. And so she was telling me, though, where they are, all the hotels, she's got friends, you know, and she's lived there forever, friends that are in the service industry and everything else, and everything is just booked solid.
What's it going to
book solid?
What's it going to be like on I-35?
I mean,
it's bad on I-35 on a normal weekday.
Well,
going from here, between here and Waco and Austin and all that.
I mean, you look at that. You look at I-30. I mean, you know, you're going to get, because you go across, basically, it looks like Texas is wearing a sash. That it just won a beauty contest. And by the way, it should win a beauty contest. And so then, same thing for Arkansas, you know, just kind of right across Arkansas. And man, how many lovely places are there, you know, in both of those states, Texas and Arkansas, you know, where you might go to a state park or something like that. But those interstates that they talk about in this story from time.com, because there's going to be two things. People traveling from, it's primarily people traveling from outside the zone of totality to the center of the zone, trying to get the maximum effect and opportunity there. And then on top of that, those who are kind of paying attention, oh, yeah, I heard something about the total eclipse or, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then it starts to happen, and they're also on that same interstate. So we'll see what the congestion looks like, hopefully, because it's been said that, like in major metro areas, and we live in one, a guy taps his brake, or gal, we're original feminists here, or a person,
original feminist.
the original feminist. So original. So a person 5 miles in front of you taps their brakes, and then, you know, all of a sudden you're going to be stopped in traffic. That's just the way, you know, people react to that. If they're watching, if they're paying attention to what they're doing. And so with all that kind of congestion, it has the potential of being a nightmare.
I was reading, because it goes over Buffalo, too, the path of totality, and they're afraid, they're expecting like 1 million people in Niagara Falls.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Know, and you're like, well, where's the hotel space up there?
Yeah.
You know, people are going to be, and here's a thought. Could you imagine the traffic situation if we all were forced to drive electric vehicles? That just popped into my mind.
Right.
We got the Buttigieg story coming up.
Well,
you know, then people that don't want EVs, you want landlines forever?
Says the guy who's promoting us going back to windmills.
I know, exactly. I mean, well, we'll get to that in a moment. Here.
What about, there's got to be a story. I think maybe I've seen a headline or two. Solar farms. I mean, it's only in the zone of totality, it's only a few minutes. Well, it's only a few minutes anyway.
Yeah, but ERCOT, we got a notice.
Yeah.
About 2 weeks ago.
Oh, did we? That's right, we did.
ERCOT, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It shouldn't affect.
Yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't. And then
it shouldn't affect the power in Texas.
And then that morning, leave your home. Don't even bother grabbing the kids. It's time to go.
I haven't even read the conspiracy theories yet. I know there's conspiracy theories. I saw an article. Here are the conspiracy theories. And I guess this is just, you know, the old man in me now going, I don't care.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it's clear that all the astronauts who landed on the moon were doing everything they could to see if they could manipulate the moon under the direction of the U.S. government and make it cause complete darkness for short periods of time. And the end game is to have complete darkness, during daylight hours all the time. And NASA's been working on this for years. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it sounds logical. What I just made up just now sounds logical. Yeah.
So I'm reading this from USA Today.
Okay.
Some of the conspiracy theories coming up, but this doesn't even make sense. But it hasn't stopped some skeptics from continuing to believe that Earth is flat. The conspiracy theory experts say dangerously feeds into paranoia and spurs an unhealthy skepticism of all science and credible authorities. Oh, you mean like the radical transgender movement?
Yeah.
The USA Today fact-check team has debunked an array of flat Earth-related claims.
Okay. All right.
Including that Antarctica really is an ice wall around a flat Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And a related conspiracy theory that space and space travel is not real. Man, people are really doing some interesting drugs these days.
Well, I mean, when you go down the rabbit holes, this is the problem. It's like you said when we were talking last hour about the National Organization of Women, who are telling people if you don't want men playing women's sports, that's patriarchy and it's white supremacy. And you were saying, well, this is so where you have to begin. And I just shouted, it's like walking backwards.
Yeah.
Because trying to unravel the whole thing. Conspiracy theories are the same thing. Because someone has built that out, or a group of someone has built it out for so long, they just start, they're about 30 seconds in, and it's like, okay, I give up. I don't even want to start and trying to debate. Because it's always, you can't prove it. You don't have documentation in your hands right now, so you can't disprove what they're saying. It's the whole Ventura thing. Why don't you tell me why there's going to be a total eclipse on Monday? I mean,
trying to figure
you can't talk to these people.
Trying to figure out the National Organization of Women is like getting pulled over for DUI, and the police officer says, start with the alphabet at Z and go backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my first response, if that would have ever happened to me, would have been,
I can't do that sober.
I can't do that sober.
Right. I can't do that sober.
866-90-RED-I.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Owner-operators can save a hefty amount of money by participating in discount fuel networks. If you're leased and your fleet has a fuel optimizer program, use it. Such a program helps plan a trip based on fuel prices and locations in the carrier's fuel network. The larger the carrier, typically the larger the discounts that are possible. Fees for using such networks have become rare thanks to competition for drivers. Owner-operators are well advised, however, to pass up network fuel stops that are too costly, are too far off route, sell inferior fuel, or are dangerously or poorly maintained. For independent owner-operators, a bevy of fuel discount networks exists, from a variety of traditional fuel cards to the National Association of Small Trucking Companies network and the younger mudflap applications discounts at independent truck stops around the nation. Research the options and discounts available to find the right one for you. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-I on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We'll give you an example coming up following the bottom of the hour about the border and how it affects the local media coverage. And this started when you had Governor Abbott doing what he was doing, and we would still get occasional comments saying, well, the media's not going to cover it. And we said, doesn't matter if the national media covers it. In fact, they'll probably be forced to cover it because so many local stations will be covering it. And that's exactly what's happening.
Right. Yeah.
That's why what Governor Abbott did is localize. We always hear all politics is local. Well, then localize what's going on at the border.
Right.
The insane policy of the administration.
Yep.
By the way, I still haven't heard Republicans saying, Democrats, they can't solve the problem because they created the problem. Let's hear that message out there.
They need
Where
to
is
do
it?
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I just wanted to give an example. You and I talked about when the border crisis started becoming a local story. All politics is local, and we said that's to make illegal immigration, to make the insanity of the Biden administration's policy on the border, to be able to actually fight it as Republicans, you have to localize the story. How do you localize the story? Well, Governor Abbott took care of that.
Yep.
And it wasn't that you didn't have migrants being shipped by Biden.
Right.
As we know, I mean, there's the story out there that 300,000 were flown to Florida. And you had DeSantis say, they don't communicate with us. They don't tell us anything that they're doing. They just do it under the cover of darkness.
Right.
But the fact is, as we've stated, it has become a local story. This is a sheriff, Butler County Sheriff, Ohio Sheriff Richard Jones, going after the Biden administration after an illegal immigrant who had previously been deported 7 times was arrested for murder in the county. Here you go.
Now, I've spoke a lot. This is killing us, and it's destroying our country. Everybody. It's affecting all of us in Butler County times the 3,300 counties in the United States. These people aren't doing anything, and they're causing it. It don't matter who elected them, what they done. We've elected these people, and they're not responsible is what they're telling us.
And he's he's got a picture of Biden and Mayorkas right there.
Yep.
And so, the local news media is covering that. And that's how you win that story, or that's how that story remains in the news. And the border crisis has become a local issue. You see some of the numbers we'll get to some of the numbers of the president right now. What is it? 60% disagree, 38% agree. That's plus 22 his job performance, and Trump's job performance in the same poll, 51-47 approve. Like I said, this is the Republicans and Trump's to lose.
Yeah. Yep. And
this is they have, it's such a dominant lead in all, especially the issues. Maybe not a dominant lead in the polls for the Republicans themselves, but on the issues, landslide numbers, the American public agrees with you. And by landslide numbers, when you ask, don't put Trump in, but you even ask, what do you think about Biden? It's cratering the approval rating. And for Trump to be up 51-47 favorability rating after everything here, and then Biden's be so low, it gives you an idea of, what the public is thinking. Now, will it transform into votes? We'll find out.
Yeah, that's the question. With the GOP, and I don't know, because it could be a case, and again, could is the operative word here, on November 5th that people look at it and say, okay, anybody but Biden. The critical thinkers or anybody who's greatly concerned about all the problems, which means millions of voters, could be looking at it saying, yeah, I don't want Biden, I know that. But this is why we harp on this. You've got to get your messaging correct. I don't want Biden, but I'm waiting to hear the solutions. I'm waiting to hear the plan from the other side. I'm waiting to hear them at least acknowledge what's going on. One of the things you said at the end of when we started getting to the tail end of the election season in 2016 is that Trump versus Hillary then acknowledged the problems. That's all he had to do is acknowledge the problems. Mm-hmm. The GOP has to do this. I think Trump is a given because he's been doing it for years, but he also has to keep his messaging on point on those issues. That message we played from him, what was that, last week? It was on point.
Yeah.
Man, it was on point. More of that. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. The GOP needs to be doing that. And this is where it gets to, because you and I talk about the dynamics of an election and the down ballot and everything else. And again, I'm building a unicorn here. I know. But I really want, and the goal should be, that every candidate stands on their own. The party I support is the GOP. It's not that I support them on 100%, but they're the closest. And I need each of those. I want, and the goal should be for them, each of those candidates to be strong, because Trump gets elected. Let's say he wins in November. He's got one term. The future of the party. We've been saying this. I said it back in 2016, 2020. Look, at some point, Trump is no longer going to be president. The party itself has to be willing to do the fighting and has to be willing to, at every turn, do what's right. It seems so fragmented in the GOP, and you don't really have to even look any further than the House, what's going on there. It's everybody's trying to make a rock star of themselves and get some social media time, and we should be doing the work, the people. And I know that sounds cliche, but I'm one of the people. And I need them to get to work, because if they can do that, if they can get their messaging on point and then deliver if they win, it means good things for all of us.
It was, I think, early last week, where you and I were just pounding for a couple of days, America last, America last, yeah. America last. Yeah. And all of a sudden, by the time we got to this weekend, you and I were noticing, we said, look, came in on Monday and Tuesday, like, did you notice how the media and even Republican politicians all of a sudden have just jumped on to America last? And so we took credit for it.
Yep.
But kidding.
Of course, they're all listening to us secretly.
But we were just like, oh, okay, somebody picked up on America last year.
Yeah.
And we think, that's important. But I think even a better slogan, as we've been saying, the Republicans need to embrace this. The Republicans need, especially with such a lead on all the issues out there, and you need to say, look, Democrats can't solve the problems. Why? They created the problems.
Yep.
It's all you have to say. You don't have to go further than that, because when you look at all the issues out there, the American public knows it. The American public knows that the border isn't secure. They knew that was a lie.
Right.
The American public knows you can't run the grid on solar and wind. The American public knows that they don't want electric vehicles, and they don't want the inflation that's on automobiles that is being accelerated by electric vehicles. You know, it's just all these things that are going on right now across the board. America knows that we should be going after, and we should be energy self-sufficient. America knows that if we have the cheapest electricity, that's where we can have foreign manufacturers build their manufacturing plants in the United States.
Yeah.
Because of the energy that we have and the energy that we can produce, that we have more oil and natural gas than anybody in the entire world. And the average American would say, well, then we need to exploit that.
Right.
We need to take that and use that to become as economically powerful as possible. But I think that when you come out and state that over and over again, if I was a political consultant for the Republicans, I would say that's what you pound.
Yep.
You have your message on each and every issue, but the overall umbrella should be Democrats cannot solve the problems that we have in our society because they created the problems that we have. Don't say society, say America. Democrats cannot solve the problems that we are facing here in America because Democrats created the problem that Americans are feeling right now. And that's it.
Every day.
Every day they should be pounding that. Every single day.
Because it's easy to back up. It's easy to demonstrate. The American people also already know it. They know. Anybody who was paying attention in 2020, Biden was inviting people, come back. If you were deported during the Trump years,
right,
we want you to come back. He was inviting them. He was inviting them and then facilitated them coming across the border repeatedly. The spending. Well, the Obama economist, Larry Summers, told them, don't do this. And they did it anyway. They were told, don't spend this money. And then, boom, inflation. Well, inflation is transitory. They not only were they lying to you, they were gaslighting you on all of these things. And they're still doing it when Biden throws up his hands. Well, the Republicans need to give me the power to close the border. Shut up.
And that's where you take that slogan, that campaign slogan,
and cap off all of that.
No, but I think you made the greatest point. Not only do you have the campaign slogan, but it's easily backed up.
Yeah.
And not only easily backed up, it's already what Americans believe.
Yes.
So you keep amplifying that and pounding it and pounding it. So Americans finally go, well, okay, I don't like the Republicans and I don't like Trump, but on the issues, they're right. The Democrats did create this. I've got to give them a chance. It can't get any worse.
Right.
And you're looking for that vote too. You're looking for that vote. You're looking for that vote of the person that says, I hate both candidates, and I don't like either of the major candidates whatsoever, but I'm going with this person here because they seem to care about the issues that I think about, even though I think he's a jerk. And I'm talking about somebody who may look at Trump and think that, that way. I saw somebody who I know post the other day. He's desperate to post something. It's the only person I know, the only friend or acquaintance I know, and saying, he's just saying stupid stuff about Trump and Biden, and it's not going anywhere. And I don't think, and I was like, I'm not going to comment. I could blast him, and I'm like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But it's really childish, the stuff that he's putting out. I mean, that's where the Democrats in trying to support Biden are basically children.
Yeah.
There's a child mentality in them saying, well, and it's the same thing with, Trump's got all this problem money-wise. Biden doesn't.
Right.
It's like that doesn't even mean anything.
Well,
it doesn't drive anybody anywhere. But that's where Democrats are right now.
Well, that's it. And the advantage that the GOP has is on so many levels. The reality, as we talk about it, versus the abstract discussions politically. Well, if we do this, we can change this by doing this. No, we're dealing with reality right now. We're dealing with, the house is on fire, and we need somebody to put it out and rebuild it. And so there's that benefit. There is the benefit, and as a society, as humans, we do this. We want to go back to yesteryear for some reason. Well, yesteryear was Trump. And not including COVID, my gosh, man, the economy compared to where it is now, the buying power of Americans, they'd love to go back to summer of 2019. Are you kidding me?
The fact that you have Roy Teixeira and Douglas Schoen
talking
about the fact that the way the Democrats will win basically is to become MAGA.
Yeah, 2 Democrats, by the way.
Yeah, 2 Democrats, right. And Douglas Schoen saying, they've got to talk about building barriers or a wall.
Yeah, right.
Like, you're telling that the success of the Democrats is them coming out pro-wall?
Yeah.
That's how much things have changed.
Yep.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Okay, we got to get to we will, following the top of the hour, the whole Buttigieg thing that opposing electric cars is like wanting landline phones forever. Excuse me, Mr. Windmill.
Yeah, this is the same guy that wants us all to go back to windmills.
So the cell phone, let me just, well, I'll wait on this. I don't want to start now because I got
one of our great listeners is already on, and he says, hey, about that, my landline still works when it's 30 below. And thank you, sir, for that comment. I think his name is Mike. I can't tell. But
the entire point is, so the cell phone is less efficient and the smartphone is less efficient and productive than the landline in everyday life?
Mm. Right.
Because that's what he's saying.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That, that electric, that basically, electric cars are like the cell phone.
No.
That they do so much more than a regular vehicle.
No, they're like the landline. They're limited.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say it, but I don't like to say it because people say, okay, that's just over the top. You guys are just insulting. But I have to because it's the truth. It's like we're debating first graders.
Yeah, it is.
It really is.
No,
It's like we're dealing with children here.
Yep.
A child mentality.
Yeah. Over and over again.
I know.
On every issue.
It really is. It's just amazing.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Here we are, Eclipse Central. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
The Red Eye Radio Eclipse headquarters news desk.
We will overhype 3.5 to 4 minutes of darkness like you can't believe over the next 48 hours or so.
We're going to simulate the eclipse later this afternoon, and we will show you footage of it as Eric's massive cranium walks in front of people who are sitting down in launch. This has actually happened. This is how big my big head is. And I'm not even joking. It casts such a shadow. Like people are begging me, hey, could you stand there for a minute? So I'll be demonstrating what it's like to have a full eclipse because I can do that. My head is so huge, it can actually cause, you have to be sitting down in a lawn chair next to me, but yeah, it's big.
Or just throw the covers over your head.
Yeah. Or, here's the thing. We'll simulate the effect. Coming up later this morning on CNN Plus. Do they have CNN? CNN Plus is gone, right?
That's gone, yes.
Yeah, okay. Yes. Oh. At CNN.com. On the CNN live streaming YouTube channel.
By the way, we called that, didn't we?
Yeah, we
said,
did.
Nobody's watching CNN. Who's going to watch? Who's going to pay for CNN?
Hey, I know. Let's expand what no one's watching.
Didn't that last less than a week?
I think. Yeah.
Still
it barely outlasted the mooch.
You still have me. That just reminded me. CNN just reminds me. I don't know why, but of what was not AmeriCorps? What was the name of the liberal radio network?
Oh, America.
Air America.
Yeah, I was going to say America Last. Sorry.
That's the new radio network being set up by MSNBC.
Yeah, exactly.
America Last.
America Last Radio. Nonsense in broadcasting.
We can cause more problems, radio.
Right.
But you and I just always got the biggest kick out of the documentary on how it all started.
Oh, my gosh.
And the thing is, if you're in radio,
Yeah.
and Eric and I, we're lifers.
Yeah, we are.
We're
I've been doing this since I was 18.
Yeah, we're lifers in radio.
Yeah.
Decades upon decades upon decades.
Uh-huh.
And when I watched the documentary, and they were doing practice shows.
Oh, no, they weren't.
They were doing practice. Remember, they were doing the practice shows?
Yes.
All right, we need to do a practice show.
Oh.
As if it's like you have a script and it's acting.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. It was painful. It was painful. You hit it right on there. It's like having a script. You can't do, if you're doing what we do, you can't do a script thing. You can't do it's not a formula thing. By the way, we didn't mind Air America being around. They provided plenty of audio for us.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of. They were
Al
great.
Franken. By the way, Al Franken is a creative person, or he was at one point. I mean, he had the potential of it being, somewhat entertaining, but it wasn't. If you look at liberals and liberal comedians who issue opinions, all right, they can find an audience. I'm not saying I'm going to be in that audience, but they can find one. And I thought he would, but he didn't. And yeah, that was really painful to even think about the rehearsal. And they did it for a period. How long did the practice?
I think it was like a couple of weeks.
Oh,
and you had
man.
Al Franken, and remember Janine Garofalo was also doing it. They were like, well, we're not getting this right here. We need to redo this. It's like, wow.
Oh, no,
wow.
No. They wanted to take the Hollywood approach. And by the way, it fits right in with the liberal mindset, right? With Hollywood, what are you doing? You're making it up as you go along. You're scripting it, and you want it to be melodramatic. You want it to be fully emotional. You want it to be all of these things. But if you're doing it with a true and honest approach, then it's none of those things. I mean, it can be, but it's on its own. It's not any of those things in a contrived way. It should always be genuine. You should either you believe it or you don't.
Well, this is why when I look at where we are right now, and there was the article out there. There was a former ESPN anchor, Sage Steele, when she interviewed Biden a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
that everything she was told, here is your script, here are your questions by ESPN management, you do not, go in any other direction except these specific questions. And when you look at this. When you look at what's going on right now, and this, I think the American public recognizes it. The polls show that they do, that, you had, like the liberal media went nuts about Robert Kennedy Jr. talking about, the censorship. But I think, the censorship of of social media and the government and the FBI being involved in it, and said, Trump a threat to democracy. Look at Biden. No president's ever done this. It just drove them crazy, but it was right on. I mean, it was absolutely right on. I think part of the frustration, and expect that the leftist media is going to go insane, because they thought that they controlled the narrative in the media that controlled what the public thought. And they did for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you've been a long-time listener to this show, was a few years back, I don't remember exactly when people would still, our listeners would call the show and say, yeah, but we Republicans can't win because they can't get any media coverage. And we said, no, it's going the opposite way. It's going the opposite way because we're old enough to remember when there were just ABC, NBC, CBS, and your local newspaper, and they might not have been as blatant as they are now. They were all liberal.
Yeah.
There was much more control of the narrative. And so you see, there's panic. Don't be fooled. They don't believe they're journalists.
No.
They believe they're political activists. They all do.
Yeah, no, they're on a mission.
They believe they're political activists who will, like I said, you could sit there and go, well, you guys are political activists. Well, we're commentators who will talk about anything. We don't censor anything on the show. There's not a topic that we say, well, Democrats might have an advantage here, and therefore, I can't explain why they don't have an advantage, so I'm just going to ignore the story.
Right.
There isn't a story that we ignore.
Right.
And we said if you look at the conservative media, every single negative thing that has come out about Donald Trump from the mainstream media, the conservative media has analyzed.
Yeah.
Now, and at times they come to different conclusions, but they analyze it. The conservative media is not afraid to cover any story. That's why you can sit there and go, well, it's the same, they're political activists on both sides. No, because political activists also censor. It's pure propaganda that they want. Having an opinion on the issues and being able to back it up with the facts is not the same as we're going to continue a narrative no matter what. We saw it the other day with taking Trump out of context. And they continue to do it.
Yep.
I got to find the story that somebody did it the other day. I think Breitbart had this story. I'll find it here. Where it was what's his name? Ron Klain. Former Biden chief of staff, Ron Klain. Let me see if I can find it here. Here it is. Klain said that the theory of the case for Biden is the president's done a good job. He's running on his record, and he also has an agenda to make the country a better place. And calling migrants who come to this country and work hard and pay taxes to do so many important jobs in this country, calling them animals is just disgraceful. So we all know, every Democrat listening right now, if you know what Trump says, you know that Ron Klain is lying.
Yep.
They have to lie in order to do it, but they're panicking because everything is falling apart for them. They can't win on the issues. They personally and their networks can censor and not cover a story, but they can't hide the story anymore.
No.
And we know
there's
that.
No way.
We know that by what the public opinion polls across the board say of what people believe on the issues, because why? The internet exists and they want to control the internet. They tried to control social media and they did for a period of time, but even controlling social media, they couldn't hide the truth from the American public. And that's why you're going to see a ton of panic, a ton of lying. Because, look, it's easy to fact check just like Charlottesville was.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they're trying. But they know also with Charlottesville that there are still plenty of people, the left knows that there are still plenty of people out there that believe that lie. So it's all they got. Try anything.
Right. Just expect the line to go to a level that can be easily fact-checked with Ron Klain yesterday on MSNBC, stating that and calling migrants who come to this country and work hard and pay taxes and do so many important jobs in our country, calling them animals is just disgraceful. Well, he didn't call them animals. He called people that come in, illegals that are in this country and murder.
Yep.
He called them animals.
Right.
And every Democrat listening right now knows that. They know that.
Right.
Because if you're listening to us, you know what the truth is on what Trump said the other day and what he was referring to. It was murderers. But you can't defend where you stand on the issues, so you lie about the issues.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
I think that's, when you look at it right now, that's the great advantage, and that's a great advantage for Republicans, is the public already agrees with you. Now you got to close the deal. And closing the deal means, as we've stated before, Republicans should be out there every day saying Democrats can't solve the problems. And you know why? They cause the problems. And then you say, for the first time, when you think about it, in American history, the things that we're doing, we have a government that is working against the best interest of the people of the United States. They're making your life harder. And again, and then you throw it back in again. Again, understand the Democrats can't solve the problems because they created the problem. And then you go right to the border. And then you go to inflation. And then you go and you just start bringing up everything that the Democrats are about, and then you repeat it again. So these are just some of the examples of why Democrats can't solve the problems, because Democrats created the problem.
And you can back that up every time, and that's going to be your end cap. That's going to be your message. And any time you need to back it up on any of those issues, it's very simple, because the American people already see it. They already know. They're already dealing with it.
Well, they're using mentality that sounds like, as we said, you're a drug addict, because none of it makes sense. Yeah. It's like you're on acid trying to figure out the world.
Yeah.
And by the way, acid is LSD for people that don't know. We are not. Oh, I heard the guys on Red Eye. They're suggesting that people actually ingest acid.
Yeah. No.
No. It's LSD. Yeah. And it's just, and the National Organization of Women thing that we started out with today, where they're saying that if you don't, these women that are fighting against having biological men play against biological women are part of the white supremacist patriarchy out there. Yeah. I mean, that's what you're dealing with on all the issues, and we'll get to the Buttigieg thing. Opposing electric cars is like wanting landlines forever.
Says the guy who supports going back to windmills.
Yeah, it's the most bizarre. The things that they say are just absolutely bizarre. It's not, well, let's take that thought for, and let's consider that point for a second here, where they may have a point. They don't have a point.
No. Well, and also going, basically, you look at it, and that's taking a shot, and that's the arrogance that runs through the current administration, taking a shot at consumers, too. They're looking at it going, dude, I can't afford an EV. I can't afford this technology.
Yeah.
I'm doing good to afford gas, and that's plentiful.
And it's going up again.
It is going up again. It is the insanity of, hey, we got everything we need right here, but we're not going to use any of it. Let's create stuff that's much more expensive.
They claim that they're for protecting American jobs as they kill American jobs.
Yep, over and over again.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Interesting that this sort of happened at the same time when Tesla talked about EVs aren't selling that well. That story just the other day.
Right, yeah.
Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg said Tuesday that people who do not want electric cars were like those who wanted landline phones forever. Let's be clear, consumers have wanted and purchased more EVs every single year than the year before. Tesla is facing more competition as GM, Ford, and Stellantis and other competitive players make sure they get a piece of the EV market. Know that they get a piece of the subsidies so they can defray some of the losses caused by the mandates of government.
Right.
Good God.
It's not true to man supporting this.
Let's be clear, the automotive sector is moving towards EV, and we can't pretend otherwise. Sometimes when these debates happen, I feel like it's the early 2000s, and I'm talking to some people who think that we can just have landline phones forever. So cell phones came because of massive subsidies of the federal government?
Right. Did the government force landlines to be, did they force new laws to, no, but you would have to force to equate this, the landlines would have to be outlawed. The old technology has to be outlawed. Well, that didn't happen. That was real demand that drove
Right.
the technology.
Yeah, fewer people have landlines, but it was their choice.
Mm-hmm.
Government didn't have to come in
Right.
and ban landlines.
Right.
Why? Because the first smartphone, the first phone was more efficient because you could take it wherever you went.
Natural demand.
And then smartphones came.
This is very unlike
It's completely the
the
opposite.
transition from the old landline, and I'm looking at our landline phone here. Our old landline phones and cell phone technology. It was progress and efficiency that built a demand naturally.
Right. People want smartphones over landlines. Why?
Mainly because you can leave the house.
Because for everything that they do, they are so much more efficient and productive and cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
See, I remember when I had my landline.
Mm-hmm.
I remember in the 90s, right before cell phones came along, my long-distance bill alone was $200 a month.
Wow. Yeah.
And now I pay, I think it's $60 or $70 for unlimited everything,
Right.
a computer, a sound system, DJ software, thousands of songs in there, access to movies and everything else.
And access to information
Right.
from everywhere.
Right. The people, Pete Buttigieg is the one that wants to go back
Right.
to old technology.
Yeah, windmills, for example.
Music reviewers and sometimes political commentators, Eric Harley and Gary McNamara on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, this is cool.
Yeah?
I see where the Chicago Republican Party must have been listening to the show and quoted, because you were the first one to say it in this exact way.
Yeah.
And they have Chicago Republican Party on X. Profound. If you can become a member of a protected class by merely identifying as a member of a protected class, then there is no such thing as a protected class. Class dismissed. And then it tags you and me.
Yeah.
So, but you're the one that actually used the...
Well, and it's something we have to cover when we talk about identity politics, when we talk about the liberal transgender agenda. And it is, that's what's going on here, is we look at the protected classes and you look at the spirit as to why we created protected classes. And it was based on things about yourself that are you, right? That you can't change, actually. So we talk about race and then gender and everything else. And then now, today, all you have to do is say, well, no, I identify as this. Well, the left will say, then everyone stop what you're doing. This person now is this. And if that this belongs to a protected class, then a person just got that same from the Civil Rights Act, the same protection just by saying so, which means anybody then could say it. And keep in mind that word fluid. Well, that might be this today, but it could be that tomorrow. And it undermines the entire Civil Rights Act. It undermines all of those protected classes. In fact, eliminates all of them. The left is on a mission to get that done clearly. And you can't tell me otherwise. So again, if anyone can belong to a protected class simply by saying so, then there are no protected classes.
And that's why we said the feminist movement, and then we said where this would go to, which is transracial.
Right.
And people don't remember this
Right.
because it wasn't big news, because I'm sure the left didn't want it publicized. But one of the last interviews that Obama did when he was leaving office, he did an interview where they said, "Why do you refer to yourself as black?" And he said, "Because I've come to understand that race is a social construct,"
Right.
which is the same thing as sex,
Right.
or gender, whatever, is a social construct. It's whatever you want to be. Now, I'm amazed, and you and I brought it up, the media, and this is interesting because that was such a radical statement that you would think that all the media would cover it, and the only people that really brought it up were us and a few other conservatives.
Right.
It really did not go widespread, and we're like, well, this is when you sit there, and this is when you have to show because remember, all the bragging about Obama being the smartest president ever.
Yeah. Right.
He's an idiot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
You know,
Well,
and
if you adhere to these kind of principles, then you are empty.
Yeah.
You've
Exactly.
got nothing.
And so, I mean, saying statements like that showed the idiocy of Obama, and it was like, well, he's the smartest guy out there. Like, on what issue?
Right.
Tell us what issue he was the smartest guy on.
Right.
Nobody could ever figure out where he was the smartest guy.
Right.
They said he was the smartest guy, but that's where the left is still right now. We've talked about it. You know, we talked about the National Organization of Women coming out. We started the show with it. I mean, it's actually hilarious to go and attack people like Riley Gaines and others that are fighting for women to be able to have their place in sports.
Yeah.
And biological women compete against biological women, and the National Organization of Women coming out and stating that Riley Gaines and those who think like her are white supremacist, are part of the white supremacist patriarchy.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely the most bizarre thing. And they don't explain how. And that's why we actually had to explain how they were wrong because of the definition of the actual words.
Yeah.
And they just throw out stuff and never have to explain it because the media will back them up on it.
You know, it's
The mainstream media will, but internet won't.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right. There's the problem. Because, you know, we featured the audio from a number of those man on the street type interviews approaching people. Hey, if I want to identify as somebody who's, 6'5" and I'm only 5'10", then, should I be able to put that on my license? Right. And then people are like, yeah, what we heard in the voice, what you hear when people go, well, if you want to. What you hear is a couple of things. First of all, the live and let live mentality, which is pretty much, I think, alive to a certain extent in most all of us. But then also on the bigger level and agenda-wise, it's that intimidation, right? These are individuals, the rank and file, they're going, and many of them attending school at these campuses, and you don't dare get out of line, and they know that. You don't dare say, well, no, that's stupid. You can't do that. And that kind of intimidation has built this all along the way. And the left still does it. If silence is violence, and then throwing racism, bigotry at every turn if you're against what they're doing or what they're promoting. And it's become beyond absurd.
Right. And then you use this example here as we have with Buttigieg. Opposing electric cars is like wanting landline phones forever, which, of course, is bizarre because what you look for, and it's been brought up before, that this is the first time in American history that the government is forcing a product that Americans don't want,
right,
that most Americans can't afford,
right,
for an industry that only exists because of the subsidies of government and that are actually less efficient and less productive than what exists already in the free market.
Right.
That the government is forcing us backwards. And Buttigieg to sit there and make the comparison because, well, these are people that wanted landlines forever. Well, then did the government have to come in, as you say, and get rid of landlines? Did they have to put a mandate on cell phones? Did the government come in and do that? Did the government come in and say, look, we're going to put a mandate that is going to make it so you need to get rid. We're going to increase the cost of owning a landline to force people to buy cell phones. And then when smartphones came out, did people say, well, no, I still want to keep my landline and not have a smartphone because a smartphone is too expensive and less productive and efficient? No, they might have said a smartphone is too expensive, so I'm going to buy a cheaper one. But the vast majority of the public voluntarily now has a smartphone.
Right.
And I'm talking, what he's talking, 80 to 90%, I think it is now.
Yep.
Have smartphones.
Right.
There was no government mandate to do that. And this is where Buttigieg, again, is arguing, and he always does. He debates like a child. He makes childlike statements. He's not a smart man. Can you do that?
He's not a smart man,
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
but he knows what EVs are.
I mean, God, stupid is as stupid does.
Well,
I mean, and it's amazing that they believe that the American public, they believe, and we've stated this about Democrats for the longest time, Democrats believe that the people that vote for them are complete idiots.
Yeah.
That they're idiots and they'll fall for anything. We can lie. We can do anything. They will stay loyal. They don't care if we cause problems that hurt them. The border crisis.
Yep.
It's now hurting them.
Yep.
Defund the police. It's now hurting them. Bankrupt cities. It's now hurting them. Oh, we forgot. Because we were so busy that officially no money for San Francisco reparations. You saw that?
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple days ago. We forgot about that one.
It's done. It's over.
After all that one. Reparations, 5 million, 10 million, 200 million people. Zero.
$0.
$0. Nothing.
Nothing. Not going to happen. We've seen it before. We knew it was going to end that way.
Yeah, we knew it. We said they can't afford to do it. They're not going to do it.
They don't have the money to do that.
We did figure they might throw $100.
Something.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Well, with the way,
Listen to me.
Yeah. With the way exactly. With the way the decline in population in San Francisco is going, eventually maybe they can just give free property out to people because nobody else will be there. Here you go. Here's free property. I mean, it's just so insane, over the top insane right now. You look at it. You look at some of the innovation over the years. You go back to Harvey Firestone, if you know anything about Firestone tires, and coming up with this idea of ship by truck. It's about what? Let's be efficient. Imagine if we, with a country our size, we could put things on a truck. You saw this at wartime. Look, they were moving things by trucks, and at wartime, supplies, that's the way it happened and still happens. And so now we can do this. Let's move in the right direction to expand efficiency. The technology then, with tires and cars and vehicles and everything else. EVs have some really cool technology. In terms of the overall efficiency, they are a step back.
Yeah.
And because you can't get them built within the price range of the average consumer, it's not going to happen. It is a pipe dream luxury. Take all the government money out of it, build it, and then charge what your build cost is, total build cost is, and what your profit needs to be, and then sell it. See if you can sell it.
There wouldn't be a company selling electric vehicles.
There wouldn't be one. There was a former CEO from, I think he was with Chrysler back in the day. I don't have it in front of me.
Wouldn't be one major. You might have boutique companies, small companies.
Right.
That would produce it for rich clients who may want one.
But there was I think it was a Chrysler, former Chrysler CEO that said he believes that the EV companies are going to be, the EV OEMs are going to be gone. That these, especially the smaller ones, they're going to be gone. I don't know what you do. You are seeing a drop in price because the demand just isn't there. And you're going to have to sell whatever's manufactured now. The question will be, all right, what happens to manufacturing after that? We see that. We see that on a number of fronts, right?
Mm-hmm.
When there's a glut, they always warn of that, especially in things like agriculture, pork and corn or whatever commodities. And it's like, okay, there's a glut, and so it's going to be cheaper at the store for a minute. But then when they slow production down because there's a glut, the prices are going to bounce back in a big way. Well, when it comes to the car makers, the EV makers, if there is a glut on the marketplace, how long before they shut down production?
The other thing is, did you see where their secondary value, their
resale value?
Resale value. Thank you. Has went down like another 12% just in a year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because concerns over batteries. You're going to buy a used one. You have no idea what life is left in that battery.
86690 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We need to have, like, Idiot Thursday maybe, too.
Yeah, we could do that. More on Monday.
More on Monday, Idiot Thursday.
More on Monday would be pretty full, though, coming back from a weekend. My gosh.
Well, I mean, the thing is the national organization comment, Buttigieg, if you're not for EVs, it's like the same mentality as if you wanted to stay on landlines.
Yeah.
I mean, we're dealing...
No,
does everybody understand our frustration? That when you're talking about Democrats, you're dealing with children right now and a children's mentality.
It really is.
And I'm being serious because, again, if it isn't proof with what the National Organization of Women came out with, saying that if you're not for males competing against females, then you're part of the white supremacist patriarchy. That's so bizarre.
That's so weird. Seriously, they worked on that. They built somebody. Believed they were going to be a champion with those words.
They workshopped that.
They workshopped that somewhere.
They brought liberal focus groups in.
Right.
So do you think we can sell this? That you're basically, if you're not for men competing against women, that you're part of the patriarchy?
Yeah.
But doesn't the patriarchy, wait a minute, isn't the patriarchy men dominating women?
Right.
So you want men to dominate women, and you say if you don't want that, you're part of the patriarchy.
Aren't you promoting patriarchy?
Yeah. What?
Did I walk into the wrong room?
Just shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. We're going to censor you, and we're going to put off the statement anyway.
Right. We're eliminating all of these responses.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning.
Hello.
I can't get over this story. I will after today, but since we had mentioned it yesterday, we had mentioned about how feminism completely surrendered to the radical transgender movement. We were just talking about that yesterday in general because there are more stories out there about the Democrats wanting males to play against females. And then we walk in today with the story that the National Organization of Women came out on X and stated that those who now oppose biological men playing against biological women are part of the white supremacist patriarchy out there.
Yeah.
And I just, to me, it's so amazing because I don't know. I'm trying to think of another political movement that surrendered their ideals of what they were founded on for a century.
I don't think there are. I can't think of one.
It's almost as if, I was trying to find an analogy to it. It's almost if the NAACP came out today and said, you know something, we realized Jim Crow laws probably were a good thing.
Right.
And
or people, if they said people who are against bringing back Jim Crow laws are racist.
Yes.
if they said it that way,
yes,
it would be like
exactly.
a direct comparison.
I mean,
which would be, of course, bizarre, but that's where we are.
It is such a surrender, such a, capitulation of what they believed for a century.
Yeah.
The feminist movement. And just like this, the man wishes when it comes to sports, to dictate the definition of a woman.
Uh-huh.
Well, the man should because
the man says so.
The man says so, and we must submit to the man. I mean, it's unbelievable. And then they, after the stories over the last couple of days, and we specifically mentioned it on yesterday's show, to walk in today and see this, you're shaking your head saying, what kind of drugs are they doing? Because there is no other rational explanation for it. You can't come up with anything. Why would feminism surrender like that?
Yeah.
To the man.
I don't.
To the man who is a man.
Exactly. I just don't get it.
I know.
I don't get it.
I just don't.
It doesn't make any sense at all. All of this is happening after legalization. I'm just going to lob this one out there. So, I don't know. I'll just say that you guys decide. Because I don't otherwise know how to explain it.
It's when you deal with every day explaining different things, and that's what we do. And when you deal with people, and I'm talking about our listeners, that are good critical thinkers, even if I disagree with on some of the issues, as we all do. Everybody's going to disagree on some things. But at least most people can connect the dots. And you're seeing now in the polling, most people can connect the dots. And I think it's just, I think for me, it's a great curiosity, and add on to that a frustration, a great curiosity of how the feminist movement and how the leaders of the feminist movement could endorse misogyny, support the hatred of women, as we have seen in all of this, and spin it that it's the opposite without ever explaining why. So there's a curiosity of how they got there, then a frustration that they don't have to explain specifically how they got to this new, totally bizarre position that makes no sense, which is opposite of what they've always believed. And they don't even feel like they need to explain why.
Right.
Because we tore it apart to begin the show. Said, well, this is what the patriarchy is. Well, the patriarchy is a male-dominated society.
Right.
Where women are subservient to the men. Well, that's exactly what the radical transgender movement is doing with wanting biological men to play biological women. It's exactly what they're doing. And the National Organization of Women is twisting it in some convoluted way to make it the opposite of what it actually is. And in doing so, they never explain, here's why.
Yeah. No, they don't.
It's like I said, it's one of the...
Well, because they know, they believe if they just throw it out there, accuse someone of being a bigot, a white supremacist. Well, it's the worst trait, and so if you just throw that label, and they've been doing it for so long, and we've been doing this for so long, it's like, do you have anything new? Is there anything? You want to rethink it again? You want to rethink it again? It's like you see that one relative every once in a while, maybe every year or every 2 years, and they start with the same joke they've been telling for 35 years. It's like, stop. Come up with something new. I'll buy you a joke book. It's over and over again, the play by the left, the bigotry card, the race card. Just stop.
Yeah, but they've taken it to the level across the board, as we've stated before, that anti-racism that they always promote is actually racism.
Yeah.
And what they promote as being against the patriarchy and against misogyny, when you actually break down their opinion, it is about wanting a patriarchal society, and it is about misogyny and women hatred. It's the opposite. That's the thing. The left is now, they're using words that would give you the impression that they are 180 degrees different from where they actually stand. But the anti-racist movement is a racist movement.
Yeah, right.
It's all built on identity politics, judging people by groups and not as individuals. And think about it, whether it was the gentleman, the author that went on The View last week.
Mm-hmm.
He was on Fox News saying, he looked, and you remember what Sonny Huston said, that he said he was a conservative. He goes,
right.
I can't find that anywhere where I said that.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
okay, that's what she did. She sort of set me up. She said that. He goes, I was like, am I gaslighting myself?
Right.
He said,
right.
I don't remember ever saying that. And it's like, okay, so she threw that out. And then he goes, she was angry, because you could tell she was angry and the others were angry. He goes, I'm a Democrat. He goes, but I think we should be a society that judges people as individuals, and race should be gone. And then I think the other actress came out yesterday. She had said that in 2013 or 2014, and she repeated it again the last couple of days, saying, no, I don't want to be. I'm not an African American. I'm an American. Don't do that.
Mm.
And they look. You look at, they look at it as an insult. Don't judge me by the color of my skin.
Right.
Don't say I belong to this group and therefore ba 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 ba. And as we've talked about, that's the whole point. And you saw it on The View. You're black. Your skin's black. You got to think this way. And if you don't think this way, you're somehow being manipulated and brainwashed. Think about this. Because the author was saying, I want to be judged by my brain and my character.
Right.
I don't want to be judged as an individual.
Right.
The color of my skin does not define me like the color of my eyes don't.
Right.
Might have in the past. It doesn't now. Society might have judged that way. We need to stop it now. We need to be a colorblind society. They don't want to hear that.
No.
That drives them crazy.
No.
It was Raven Simone, defense telling Oprah in 2014 she's not an African American, and saying that doesn't align with me.
Right.
She revisited comments she made about her racial identity a decade ago, claiming she still stands by them and sees herself simply as an American and unattached to other labels. That should always be the goal of everybody in a free society.
Right. But the left can't have that.
Nope, they can't.
Why is that? Because you have no victims. What's interesting is society does have victims, real victims. But quite often, those victims are ignored because the left is creating other victims that aren't real victims over and over again. And the more you live in this victimized state, or you believe you're being victimized if you're not, Well, your mind is going to tell you over and over again. That's what's going on. That's your reality. And you can't rise above that. But of course you can. And we've seen it. We've been doing this a long time. The left has been using this forever and this is why critical race theory was, for them, so critical. Because we need to start the indoctrination process for children that if you're a person of color, you will always be oppressed. And if you are not a person of color, you will always be the oppressor.
Right. That's what it's about. And so
we can't have a society like that, but the left can't have it any other way.
Yeah, there it is right there. Rich Lowry, National Review. Colorblindness is America's most transgressive idea. Black intellectual Coleman Hughes was mocked on The View for arguing that people should be treated equally regardless of their race. Think about that.
Yeah.
This is how the left has gone completely bonkers.
Right.
The writer went on The View and was greeted with almost as though he had shown up wearing a white hood. Hughes, a soft-spoken black intellectual who was a political independent, was talking about his new book, The End of Race Politics, Arguments for a Colorblind America. Once upon a time, colorblindness was an uncontroversial idea. It was considered a core American ideal and worth aspiring to, even if we were failing to live up to it. In recent decades, though, it's run into a buzzsaw of opposition. It clashes with the left's near theological commitment to racial preferences, especially on college campuses, with a fashionable new forms of left-wing radicalism, including segregation.
Yeah.
Talked about that.
Right.
The radical left that wishes to segregate by color on college campuses. Remember that? Remember the whole University of Missouri, the carrot top professor and all that?
Yeah.
Well, no. We need to have our own dorms. We need to segregate from whites. It's like, what?
They wanted to bring back segregation.
Yep. So it is naive, out of date, and worse, even a tool of oppression used by sneaky racists to hide their malignant designs in lofty rhetoric. That is true.
Yep.
This was the attitude of co-host Sonny Huston when Hughes showed up on the set. She declared that color blindness has been co-opted by conservatives and that the widely respected Hughes is a charlatan for the offense, mind you, of arguing that people should be treated equally regardless of their race. Thoughtless even by the standards of the panelists of The View, Huston was easily outmatched by Hughes, who pushed back without getting flustered or raising his voice. He even won occasional applause from the studio audience for ideas that still, despite all that has been done to belittle them, have strong common sense appeal in America. Yeah, we talked about that. There was actually more. That was he talked about that when he was on Fox News yesterday. He said, well, you were getting applause from a liberal audience. He goes, yeah, because these ideas resonate with people. You know, it's the radicals. It's the radical left that wishes to promote racism, identity politics, judging people by groups and not individuals, and keeping their party as the victim oppressor party. It's core to it. If they lose that, they lose their identity as their party.
Oh yeah, they've got nothing.
Right, and that's why whether it was Roy Teixeira or Douglas Schoen, the Democratic analyst last week, who both wrote, we got to stop this. We got to stop all of this. Democrats can't survive in doing this, and basically was saying they need to become Republicans and or Trump, where Trump stands on the actual issues. And you and I look at each other and go, well, you guys are delusional. They're not going to do that.
That's not going to happen. And what they were actually doing, both of them, is indirectly acknowledging that Trump is, or directly acknowledging that Trump is connecting with the American people.
Yeah. And in order to do so, you have to believe what Republicans believe. Well, Democrats aren't going to do that in a matter of the months before an election.
Never going to happen.
And if they did, nobody would buy it.
No, they wouldn't.
866-90-RED-I.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on roadside inspections. Once a roadside inspection is completed, the officer will close it out, which involves the officer writing or typing up the report. The more the officer found during the inspection, the longer this will take. If violations were discovered, most officers, as a courtesy, will explain the violations to the driver. If there were any out-of-service violations, the officer will normally explain what must be done to get the out-of-service order lifted. Drivers need to be very attentive during this part of the inspection. The driver also needs to read and understand the complete inspection report. After receiving the inspection report, the driver has 24 hours to get the roadside inspection report to the motor carrier. If the driver will not be returning to a company facility within the next 24 hours, the driver needs to know to get it on the way to you via email, mail, or fax within 24 hours. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know what the top story is on Fox News?
What's that?
The top story on Fox News of all the stories out there.
Yeah.
Dallas Mayor Eric Johnson lobbies for Kansas City Chiefs relocation to Dallas after the stadium funding vote failure. Welcome home. And when asked about the Dallas Cowboys being there already, well, this place is big enough to have two teams.
Jerry Jones is big enough to not ever let that happen.
Because this would be a team just moving cities. If it was a new franchise, you said, well, if he can own the team.
If it could be if there was such a thing and the NFL allowed him to own two teams.
If Hunt will sell the team to Jerry Jones, maybe.
Right, exactly.
But I think Jerry Jones is going to allow.
Yeah, unless he can own it.
But that's the top story on Fox News.
Yeah.
Something that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
It isn't going to happen.
Oh, my gosh. It was just so funny. I'm just like.
Yeah. Look. No.
No,
it's just never going to get there. Mayors do what mayors do, right? Just kind of make it a moment. But there is no serious consideration for something like that happening. It did have me wondering, though, about the Mavs and what's going to happen there with new ownership and all that, and what that looks like for, where are they going to be playing? What's their home going to be? Is it going to be still in downtown Dallas? And all those questions surrounding that. But no, there won't be another NFL team coming to Dallas. That's not going to happen.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. A couple of other interesting stories out here. This from the Washington Free Beacon. California's fast food franchisees must hike their minimum wage to $20 an hour under a law that Governor Gavin Newsom hailed as extraordinarily beneficial. His own luxury restaurants, meanwhile, are paying their workers less.
What?
Active job listings for Newsom's Pump Jack Cafe, which touts its status as Lake Tahoe's premier dining destination, advertised for a busser, host, server, food runner positions with $16 hourly wages.
What? I'm not an expert at math, but I'm pretty sure that's less than $20 an hour.
Yes. Another Newsom-owned restaurant, the Balboa Cafe, located in San Francisco's fashionable Marina District is also hiring. The restaurant seeks an on-call cocktail server for $18.07 an hour.
1807?
Yes. The restaurant hiring sprees have come as Newsom backed fast food minimum wage laws, which took effect on Monday, prompting layoffs and price hikes across California. But at Newsom's own restaurant, he will not pay the $20 an hour.
Well, why should he? I mean, you know, he's the one that signed it into law. Everybody else can pay for it.
He praised the fast food minimum wage mandate when he signed it into law last September as a big deal and as an example that the future happens in California first.
Except at my places.
He also said the foundational principle advanced by the law is inclusion. So now inclusion, inclusion means so many different things today.
Well, yeah, you can. You can include everything.
Inclusion means misogyny.
Yeah.
Inclusion means you, fast food restaurants, have to pay more than me because I made sure that we excluded my restaurants from paying the minimum wage of $20 an hour.
We're slow food, not fast food.
Yeah. Slow food.
Get it right.
Doesn't have to pay as much.
Right. And if you're getting drunk, nobody cares, you know. So they're not going to pay you $18.07. There was a discussion, by the way. They were going to say, hey, why don't we pay them $18.08 an hour? And they, no, whoa. I'm not a trillionaire. $18.07.
For California State Assemblyman Joe Patterson, a Republican, the discrepancy between the wages offered at fast food joints and Newsom's restaurant shows the governor doesn't show any sympathy or concern for his own employees because inclusion, remember, it's Newsom that said this new law paying $20 an hour is about inclusion. That's so right. Inclusion to Newsom is Newsom being excluded from the inclusion. You see why we're going nuts today with all? If you've been listening since the very beginning of the show, you've probably just screamed as many times as we have. It's about inclusion. Yeah, but you're excluding yourself. Well, that's part of inclusion. In inclusion, some people have to be
excluded and included so that all can be covered. See, that's the way it works. See?
It sounds like something that Kamala Harris would try to explain.
It sounds like a teenager who's in really, really deep trouble with their parents.
As the Republican state assemblyman said, I think the proper response is we think our employees should make the same amount of money. Thanks for bringing it to my attention, Patterson told the Washington Free Beacon. That's what Newsom should have said.
Yeah.
Newsom's campaign spokesperson, Nathan Click, dismissed criticism over the restaurant's wages, saying that the governor's business and financial holdings are held and managed in a blind trust. So he has no control over it.
He has no control over it.
Right.
He has no influence or power there whatsoever in the stuff he owns.
It's in a blind trust. However, it's run by a family friend.
Oh, okay. But they're not a real friend.
While Newsom's investment group that controls her restaurants is run by his sister and his cousin. So there you go.
Sorry. Once again, Newsom, we talked about this during the COVID thing. He didn't believe the science. It's not just the hypocrisy. And he doesn't believe in a $20 an hour minimum wage.
Wait a minute.
What?
Bird flu. Put the masks on.
Oh, no, I'm waiting for it. I got like 5 billion masks that have gone unused. I'm just waiting for it. Bird flu.
I checked my center console. You got the little storage space in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my old car. Shows you how often I open up. There's like a package of masks in there.
Yeah, no, I came across one in the top of a closet, a package of masks the other day, and I thought, oh, what are these are masks. Huh. And I debated throwing them out, but then I thought, nope, bird flu. Here we go. Wait for it. Yeah,
Remember the debate over, what did they call those things that you basically went around your neck and you could pull them up? What are they called? Remember they banned
the gator.
the gators,
things?
yes,
Yeah,
the gators.
gator, yeah,
The gator things, and then everybody was buying the gators, and a month later, no, you can't wear those.
yeah, you can't wear those. And then the masks that had a vent, remember those?
Yes.
You can't wear that on a plane. What? I was just wearing it on the last flight. This is my second leg of my flight. Well, no, we banned that. We banned that between flights.
Yeah, I got hit with that.
Yeah,
I got hit.
You can't wear that anymore.
And you know why I wanted the vent? Because, and I've got great lungs, but it just was extremely uncomfortable to try to breathe through those things. And my lungs are fine. It's not like I have any lung disease. They're fine. They're great.
I've got a lung disease, and I still wanted to use it. Yeah. It's just hard to breathe. Yeah.
That's what I mean, though. It's hard to breathe. I wasn't using it because I had a lung problem.
Right.
But it's hard. It was always hard to breathe, so I had the vent. They said, you can't wear that. It's the only one I have. Do I have to go back and come back on? No, we got a mask for you, and they gave me one.
Right.
And I'm like, well, this thing seems like it's thicker than the one you're giving me.
Well,
and if it's just like,
and I go to my doctor a few times a year for follow-ups. And, I had a conversation with their staff. I said, it makes sense. This would be the one place, if you were going to have a mask policy, not a government mandate, but a policy, that it would be here in the waiting room of a clinic. Because inevitably I walk in, and I'm just there for a follow-up. Everything's fine. But that person across from me, they're coughing and hacking and coughing and hacking. And they're using that pen to fill out their form, and they put it back in the pen bucket. And then I got to go over there and play some kind of pen roulette. No. I brought my own pen, thank you. I mean, and to follow up, then they ended their mask mandate policy in that office kind of early. I mean, it was according to CDC guidelines, but they ended it kind of early, and I thought, is that one we could bring back? I mean, if someone's coughing, or can we have them wait outside?
Well, when Jim Brewer did the comedian, did the thing on getting on airplanes.
Oh yeah. Oh.
And it's like, you must wear the mask, otherwise the full force of the federal government is going to come down upon you.
Oh man!
So you must wear your mask. Do not put that mask beneath your nose. Snack time! Everybody, take your masks off.
Yep. Well, but I remember being in line at a post office. Wow, that's how long ago COVID was.
You were
people still went to post office.
Yeah, Pony Express, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I walk in and I'm in line. I can't remember what I had to pick up a package or something. And there was a person in front of me that was wearing a mask. Nobody else in line was wearing a mask. This was very early. And the looks that this person got. Because how dare you wear it? Remember at first, you need to save those masks for medical workers, for first responders. How dare you wear a mask? By the time I got done with my business there, a few minutes later at the post office, it was, where in the hell is your mask? I mean, seriously, the evolution of Karen in one visit at the post office. But it just, everything was just insane, over the top. And, Newsom, once again, he's not walking the walk. Don't focus on the hypocrisy. That's a given. He doesn't believe in it. Why is that? Why is it that at his businesses, because it doesn't matter a blind trust. A business is there to make money, are they not?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they there to pay people? They're not there to pay people. You want to incentivize people to be productive, but you pay them to the point that the market will bear. And that's what he's doing, even through the blind trust, not directly involved. He doesn't believe in $20 an hour minimum wage, Governor Newsom, because he knows it's a business killer. Otherwise, he'd be doing it at everywhere.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure he looks at it as the fact that, okay, slow restaurants now have a little edge over fast food restaurants.
Exactly. Well,
a government
you and I were
mandate
talking off the air.
gives us a competitive edge.
Yep, you and I were talking off the air. You noticed the menu price for a meal the other day, a fast food meal, and you were like, wow. And you were saying, man, you could go to a sit-down restaurant for that kind of money. So, the slower, the service restaurants or full-service restaurants, whatever you want to call them, a sit-down restaurant, yeah. I mean, if you're paying for a fast food burger meal and it's $16, $18 or whatever, well, you could go get a lunch special at a sit-down restaurant for that.
Well,
Easy.
I tell you, I was after a doctor's appointment. I hadn't eaten all day, and normally I never. I mean, once every 2-3 years I'll go to a fast food restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I was so hungry, I went, oh, Chick-fil-A.
Yeah,
and I got just the regular sandwich meal, the regular fry, and a diet whatever, and the 8 McNuggets. Wait a minute, it's Chick-fil-A.
No,
It's
yeah.
not
Chick Nuggets. I think it's called Chick Nuggets. I could be wrong about that.
And it was like over $17.
Yeah.
And I went, whoa, wow. All right. I wonder what it'll be like when I go back to another fast food restaurant 5 years from now.
Oh, my gosh.
I just don't go to fast food restaurants. It's not, it's just because, being a type 2 diabetic, it's like they don't have a lot.
The menu choices are,
mostly high carb.
And the temptation is high when you're in line. I mean, it's just like, okay, throw in a, whatever dessert or whatever.
Yeah. No, I didn't eat the chick nuggets like the day after, but so I probably ate, because I stick to about 40 to 60 grams of carbs today. Probably that was 90. So it was a little bit of a cheat day, but not a big cheat day.
Not too bad. No.
Yeah. So
You can do that.
But I couldn't believe it was like over $17.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it. I had till I got home.
Right.
And I was like, I wonder what I didn't even look at what it cost. I go, what did that cost?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. $17? Am I right? Or would that have been $8 4 years ago?
I'd say at least closer to 10-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
You're adding on the 8-piece nugget, but
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah. Probably closer to 10.
yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
Greedy.
Yeah.
See, if they opened Sundays, they'd have more business, and then they wouldn't charge me.
Right. They could afford to lower the prices.
Darn religious fanatics. It's costing me.
How dare they have moral values?
Wow, we could do a liberal talk show.
We could.
866-90-RED-I.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-I.
Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. By the way, the food that I had when I was at Chick-fil-A was I had like I said, I don't go to fast food restaurants.
Yeah.
Man, that chicken's good.
I've had it a couple of times when I was on the road recently. I had it because I just had it the day before, and I was like, man, I want that again. Yeah, sometimes it's like, okay, nothing else will do. It was very good. Very good.
It was.
Yeah.
Coming up, the Biden administration cancels the purchase for Strategic Petroleum Reserve oil. Why?
All right.
High prices.
Oh! Gee, didn't see that coming.
This is Red Eye Radio. on Westwood One.